Climate policy, including food and agricultural policy, is an extremely complex and complicated topic. If you're just looking to understand what is happening at international climate conferences, you are confronted with a bunch of jargon ranging from Article 6, the UNFCCC, the global stocktake, all sorts of different terms and that are incredibly difficult to understand. And we are losing so many potential young activists because they don't feel like they can contribute if you are joining a campaign and if you're wanting to get involved and you feel like you don't even know how things work and how to understand that. Young people have been absolutely amazing in trying to campaign for more ambitious policies and trying to get governments and decision makers to listen and trying to understand the policies, but the difficulties really do lie on the other side. We do have a big issue in particular in the food and agriculture side of policy, just looking at the European Union, for example, the Amendment 171, which was due to be passed in October last year, and which would have been extremely restrictive to plant-based products and to market plant-based products. They wouldn't have been allowed to sell plant-based milk in cartons because that would have been an unfair competition compared to dairy milk or yogurt in the same form that actual dairy yogurt is being presented in. And this was stopped, but only due to a huge campaign of NGOs and 500,000 signatures of people from around the EU. But what is already in place, and that was put in by a court decision 2017, is that you cannot call plant-based alternatives by names that are usually reserved, as they have said, to dairy products. So you cannot call soy milk, you legally cannot call that a vegan milk or even soy milk. You cannot call vegan yogurt, you cannot call plant-based alternatives by the same name, even if it is very clear that they are plant-based, which is absolutely ridiculous because they have made exemptions in that court decision. So the exemptions do not apply to soy, for example, but they do apply to spirituous beverages and soups that you can call creamy, but you cannot call a plant-based cream alternative cream. So you can very much see the influence of the lobbies that are behind the regulations. And you just have to look at advertising. The EU has plans to reduce meat and dairy consumption. However, its advertising definitely does not reflect that. They have spent, in last year alone, they have spent more than a third of their advertising budget, well, of their farming advertising budget on meat and dairy. They're advertising the products that they want people to reduce. You cannot expect people to reduce something when you have trams going around Brussels advertising dairy milk. Or just the other week, I saw an ad on French TV that promoted to drink dairy milk every day. And at the end, it said it is co-financed by the European Union in collaboration with one of the lobby associations. And so these are examples that just kind of make you realize how much power lies behind the agricultural lobby and what actually lies behind every policy. Some companies and some networks and associations are just dominating the field, and you can demand for consumers to change, but if you do not even create the system that enables them to change, if we do not have the options, if we do not take into account that we need the necessary policies, that we need the necessary funding, we are subsidizing in billions every year, we are subsidizing extremely harmful farming practices instead of pouring all of our money into a transition that would transition into an environmentally friendly and sustainable system. We still have not managed to change, to make it easy for consumers to change. This goes back to the whole concept of behavioral economics, and that it would be so easy and simple to just nudge people in the direction of more environmentally sustainable products. Currently, the default option is almost always the meat option if you want a plant-based option, you have to specifically ask for it. You have to go to places, you have to research places where you can find it. And that is a huge problem in our system. And there is still so much resistance. I remember when I was in my undergraduate, I tried to convince my college to change the default option for formal dinners so that the default option was plant-based or at least vegetarian and not the meat option, because it's been shown that that is incredibly powerful. There were studies in Germany, for instance, where they changed the default option of that they took like one German town as an example, and they changed the default option of the energy provider to be renewable. And 90% of people stuck with the renewable energy provider. That is how powerful the default option is. And these would be simple things that you could implement. But there is so much resistance because people feel like they would be imposing a choice on people. But aren't we doing that already? There is always something in the default option. It's not like we are changing, it's not like we are adding a default option. We are currently pushing people in the other direction. And it would be so simple to make changes to push them in a different direction that would not be imposing a choice, that would just be imposing a different choice. And it wouldn't be imposing, it would just be leading people towards a choice that would be better for everyone.